Hey, what's up everyone? Today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys what I think is the best strength build in 2025 that also works in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So, let's begin. Starting off with the weapon, we're going to be using the Giant Crusher. It's got the best scaling for strength in the entire game. At max level, it's going to have an S scaling, so you'll really want to grab this. But if you can't get your hands on this, no worries. Honestly, any other colossal weapon or colossal sword that you can change the affinity on works just fine. Obviously, you're not going to be doing the same damage as me, but you're still going to be hitting like a truck, and that's kind of all that matters. To get this weapon, you can find it in a chest in the back of a carriage directly south of the Outer Wall Phantom Tree Site of Grace. This is a late game weapon, but you can use any other colossal weapon to get similar results. When it comes to the Ash of War, we're going to be taking Cragblade. This is going to give the weapon a 15% damage buff and 10% stance damage buff, meaning it's going to be easier to stance break bosses and whatever strong enemies. And this lasts for 60 seconds. Also, it only costs 16 FP to use, which is perfect since strength builds don't normally have a ton of mana. This can actually be found west of the Impassable Great Bridge site on a scarab in the Sword Monument. You can get this pretty early on. In fact, you can get this before you even have to do any major boss fights. Now, for the really important part, you're going to want to place the bleed affinity on the Giant Crusher. This will reduce the weapon's strength scaling from S to A, but the amount of bleed buildup you get with no levels in Arcane is insane. Like, you can proc a blood loss in only a few hits, which does easily over 1,000 damage for the trade-off of a bit less than 150 attack power. This is a no-brainer because, like I said, this requires no investment in Arcane to get 120 bleed buildup, and also gives you another stat to level up for more damage once you've maxed out strength. In addition to this, if you do come up against a boss or whatever guy you're stuck on that is immune to bleed damage, you can just switch the affinity to strength and get more physical damage out of it. It's literally a win-win situation. What's not to love? In order to place the bleed affinity on weapons, you're going to need to grab the black wet blade that can be found on a corpse slumped in front of an altar in the Knight's Sacred Ground. Really important item that you'll probably use for other builds as well. When it comes to using the weapon, since the Ash of War requires very little FP, you can kind of just spam the Ash of War every minute to reapply the buff, even though it's not really needed because you'll be killing everything that's around the size of you in 1 to 2 shots, but you can if you want to be overpowered, or if you come up against something that's a bit more tanky. You'll also want to utilize the Charged Up attack. This is obviously going to give you the most damage, but it also gives you the most stance damage, which is very important to this build. We not only have a ton of physical damage, bleed damage, but we also have a metric ton of stagger, which just gives us free openings for even more damage. And now to get even more damage, I'm taking the white mask helmet that increases my damage by 10% for 20 seconds after a blood loss happens, which again, we can proc in 1 to 2 hits, so this will be really easy to get going. And for the rest of the armor, I'm using the Rakshasa. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we'll find out real soon in the comments section. Anyways, the Rakshasa set gives you a 2% damage increase for each piece you have equipped. I have 3 of them, so I'm getting a 6% damage increase. Not a lot, but every little bit does add up. To get all of these armor pieces, the white mask is dropped by killing one of the 3 nameless white mask NPC invaders in the Mogwin Dynasty Mausoleum area in the blood-filled lake in front of the palace approach to Ledge Site of Grace. For the Rakshasa set, I'm just going to put a link in the description for all the instructions on how to get it. With the Talismans, I'm rocking the Lord of Blood's Exultation that does the same thing as a white mask, damage buff whenever a blood loss procs for 20 seconds. However, this gives a 20% damage increase on top of the mask's 10%. So it's pretty nice. I'm also using the Great Jar's Arsenal. We're using an extremely heavy weapon, so this is going to save us quite the amount of levels we would have had to invest in endurance, and instead we can put into strength. The Axe Talisman, which increases charged up heavy attacks. Again, why we want to utilize fully charged up heavy attacks, they're just going to be extremely rewarding. And finally, the Two-Handed Sword Talisman that gives us another 20% damage increase while two-handing our weapon. For all of these talismans, the Lord of Blood's Exultation is rewarded after killing Esgar, the Priest of Blood in the Leyndell Catacombs. Pretty easy fight, so not too much to worry there. The Great Jar's Arsenal is also rewarded after defeating 3 NPC duelists in the Dragon Barrow. The Axe Talisman can be found in a cellar underneath the Mistwood Ruins in Eastern Limgrave. And the Two-Handed Sword Talisman can be found inside the highest structure in the Templetown Ruins. After the fight with the Horned Warrior, just continue up the stairs into the next room to find a chest with this item inside of it. My favorite thing about this build is you get so many damage buffs just by simply existing or swinging the weapon at guys. Like, you don't have to cast 10 incantations or any of that stuff. Just run, fight, get stronger. Not much else to it. I also use the Flask of Wondrous Physick with the Spiked Crack tier that's going to further increase the damage of charged up heavy attacks by 15% for 3 minutes, and the Stonebarb Crack tier that increases our stance damage by 30% for 30 seconds. These are really clutch when it comes to boss fights, so I'd highly recommend grabbing these and using them. To get the Spike tier, it can be found by an altar next to the minor Erdtree in Mistwood, along with the Greenspill Crystal tier, which is another pretty cool tier that doesn't hurt to grab. And for the Stonebarb tier, this one's rewarded after killing the Putrid Avatar near the second minor Erdtree in Caelid. Before I get into the stats, if you want to make the game as easy as possible, you can either 1. Take the Mimic tier, which we all know is completely cracked, or the Great Shield Soldier Ashes. Pretty much just let your summoning take all the aggro from the enemies and you just stand to the side of them, charging up your heavy attack and nuking their health bar on repeat. It's actually pretty satisfying and not so much rage-inducing like how this game normally is. And finally, with the stats, you're going to want to start off with the hero class if you want to match my stats exactly. With Vigor, I found 60 to be a pretty good amount where you won't get two-shotted by most attacks. Mind, don't even touch, keep it at 9. Endurance is 25, and if you don't have the Great Jar's Arsenal, you're going to need a lot more levels in it, so get it. Strength, only level up to 80 because after that, you don't get much damage per level. Dexterity, again, don't touch at all. Intelligence and Faith, same thing, leave them as low as you can. And lastly, for Arcane, you should only level this up once you've reached 80 Strength. If you guys liked the video, drop a like, subscribe, really helps me out, and thank you guys.